State of the game for the end of October, early November 2022 metagame market. What is going on in Yu-Gi-Oh? Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. First of all, we are on the clasp of a tier 0 format. I've made multiple discussions on this. I'm not going to go too crazy in detail with this, but the Shizu cards are coming in Mavens. This set has, the best price tag on the year for it, to be honest with you. A lot of people are genuinely excited for what's to come out of this set. Very cheap, easy to get reprints, talents, evenlies, lightning storms. Pre-sales for talents were what, $9? Yeah, $9 lightning storms, $15 evenly matches. I'm genuinely impressed with the reprint value that's being had on the pre-sale value here for Mavens. So full discrepancy there. I do think that it was a bad choice of discrepancy there, but full disclosure, I do think that picking up those pre-sales, I'd be perfectly fine with spending minus $30 for a set of talents and a set of lightning storms. So good. So that's kind of like what you're unpacking here with Mavens in the very early stages here is you really gotta pay attention to that set to make sure you can get it. I'm not such a big fan of the sleeves out of there, and I hope that stuff doesn't end up being short printed. That'd be a real shame if it does. It's not a core set, so it doesn't follow the same rules that you typically have. They can short all they want in these side sets. Like, we've seen it beforehand. You're like, oh, why did I not pull? Yeah. It's typically because of that. So, Mavens, fantastic reprint set, game-changing set. The sleeves, the collectability, the set has everything. The tins used to be the banger set of the year. Mavens blew it out of the water, for sure, all right? So, what else, set-wise do you really have here? You have the Crystal Beast reprint set, the Battles set. And you got to ask yourself, what in the world do they do? Because you're selling a set 2 weeks after Mavens. All right, this is coming off of the best reprint set of the year. You got to ask yourself, what in the world can they do? And I've talked about, the Crystal Beast set a little bit. It's like, this has to be the set that they bring in the Blue Eyes White Dragon from the Animation Chronicle from Japan with the alternate art. Or not the alternate art, but the giant flavor text, all of that very rare stuff that we saw out of that edition's got to be the place where they put it, all right? Typically, we end up following suit with that out of Japan. So this would be the point that they drop that. But what do you do to follow up with a set that has amazing reprints, amazing game change ability, and the chase concept of the Pharaoh's Rares? The only thing that they can do, they would have to hit some banger Starlights, and I don't know if we're really gonna hit those notes, because you already have something like the Blue Eyes, which would be the equivalent to the Leviathan Dragon, I would think. So what else do you do? The only real card left that you can reprint for, the sake of, value would be Baron de Fleur. Baron's already floating about the $80 mark. It is the current era access code talker, for sure. And it still only has one printing. And it literally was the reason why the Wind Duels pack was worth anything. All right? Because you've already reprinted all of the current staples. So now you got to ask yourself, how do we save the set? The Dark Crystal Beast, it definitely, Mavens was for your competitive player base, for sure. This battle set feels like it's more for your casual player base, and I know it's a weird concept, right? That Konami can design sets with different markets in mind. Yeah, but there's got to be, you got to put something in there for your competitive player base. So I don't know, man. Baron's the only real thing that I can think of, unless they're going to tip some crazy scales and do some massive Starlight drop beyond anything that we've seen. And those lottery cards really do sell these sets. Trust me when I say that, all right? It's amazing what collector's rares can do in a side set. You should be surprised to see what they can do with this. So I'm really kind of worried about the Let Battle set. I honestly really am. Because just coming off of Mavens 2 weeks later into a set that's more casually oriented, that's a really tough sell. All right, now, of course, you have your Dark World structure deck. I know people are going to pick up 3 of these just to have. I've talked about that the problem with the Dark World deck right now, and the deck like missing the mark competitively, and I don't think people seem to understand this. The deck has a lot of cards that stop it. A lot, all right? And then to top things off, you play against Tyr, and Tyr's like, oh boy, thanks for sending my cards to the graveyard. I get to get these bricks out of my hand. I love card destruction. A card destruction for a Dark World player is probably as good as a card destruction for a Tyr Elements player, because they're like, oh boy, all of these card effects are about to trigger. So, like, that's why I said, like, in the these decks miss the mark video, like, I think Dark World is an okay rogue strategy. It's just, the deck is here, and we're in outer space right now in terms of the metagame. That's not to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! One big thing I want to remind you of with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is there are a lot of times where Konami will print something, and it won't become meta for a while. So that is definitely something that we could see with Dark World. All right, don't be put off when I say that and be like, you pick up 3 Dark World structure decks for the good reprints, for the deck core, straight up, just handed to you. I mean, Crystal Beast have seen more competitive play than quite a lot of the more recent structure decks. Conclave Control is pretty good. So there's that. I mean, that's your release schedule for the rest of the year. You got to start looking at saving money at this point. You have amazing defenders coming up here, which I like the themes in the set. I think Minkanko is going to be the best one of them. The Fire Force or Rescue Ace is all right. And then you have Puri, which has a chance to do something. It'll really depend on how the meta shapes up that. And then, of course, you have all the collector's rare reprints that can really shape things up. And then you have Photon Hypernova, which will straight kick off the anti-meta Tyr Elements strategy. Thank you, Shangri-La. I love blanking all of these zones. So, in terms of your releases and in terms of, saving your money, obviously Mavens is going to drain a lot of the community, but up through the holiday season here, it's just that. And I did touch a little bit on the metagame at the beginning of the video here, how, we are going to enter into that Tier 0 format. Ishizu cards, I don't know how they're going to settle in price. When you look at the market right now, we are ramping up very, very hard for prices right now. People are picking up those Shotri-La cards very, 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 very expensively. You're seeing $55, $60 Fenrirs at this point. You're seeing players, they just want to get ahead of the curve. Paralineos are still kind of floating where they are. You're seeing people pay $280+ right now on these magnificent Mavens, Ishizu cores, because they want to play the deck. And I've read a few discussions from people. It's like, if you play on a local level, you don't have to have the Ishizu cards. You might not win every week. You don't have to go to locals every week, but to save yourself, $300 from having to pick up this particular set of cards is not necessarily a bad thing. And I do kind of agree with that. Locals is not always going to be the most competitive, all right? You can have these tournaments that, your half of your locals is playing, maybe not Tier 1, but I guess you argue if you want to win a couple packs every week, I guess dumping $300 for an Ishizu core, will pay itself off. But if you're one of those people that like having the best with a chance to play, it definitely is something. So, kind of going forward here, very, very expensive era of Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the most expensive, I wouldn't say it gets the most expensive. A lot of the current cards with no reprints, definitely going up in price. That's the way it'll always be. At least Fallen of Albaz stuff looks a little bit cheaper on paper. I will say that. The Albaz lore is just kind of starting to head down its final path here. The Adventure Package only gets cheaper by the day. I do want to point that out. The Adventure Package just straight disappeared out of the metagame. Really, where'd that package go? That was such a dominating force, like literally 5-6 months ago. Now you look at the current landscape and you're like, but where did it all go? It just rode off into the sunset and disappeared. It's still there. It still does things, but once again, the escalation and crazy power creep there. It's just that. So that is your metagame / market wrap up for late October 2022. What do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.